Hey everybody, welcome to American Idol Unaired. I'm your host, Bennett Shear, and I'm very excited because we have got another aired exception for you. It's our first contestant from season 17. Please welcome Chloe Channell.
Hey, how's it going?
Great, how are you?
I'm good.
I know it's been a minute, so I'm curious if you're feeling like there's a lot of specific memories or if it's kind of like going back in time for you. How are you feeling about reflecting on something that has been quite a little bit of time now?
Well, it's so weird because I haven't done anything or talked about it in so long, it feels like. And it's coming up, I want to say like maybe fifth year anniversary or fourth year. I don't even remember. It just seems like forever ago. But I still have such fond memories of it. And I'm still like so close with everyone I met. So the memory never like goes away. And plus, I live in Nashville now and I sing at like Luke Bryan's bar.
Wow.
And I've seen him there. So it's kind of like I'm auditioning every single day of my life. So I don't know.
Wow. What was this bar open when you were on the show, or was that after you filmed Idol when it
It's been
opened?
there forever. I was just, really young back then, and I still lived in Florida where I'm from. And then when I turned 18, I moved. It was 2 years after I was on American Idol, I moved. I had no idea I was going to be singing downtown and at somebody who judged me's bar. So
Tell me about whether it's growing up in Florida or just sort of what got you into music, because I'm sure it's been a long journey even before you got to Idol to finding your passion for music.
right. Well, it's so weird because no one in my family does music at all. And everyone always assumes that I got my ability to like sing from my parents or something. But I have no idea. I started singing when I was 6 years old in Chamathla, Florida, and I'm from Pace, Florida. And it's just like really close to the Alabama line. And I grew up there and I started singing at a really young age. And then when I turned 11, I did a different TV show and I got to go pretty far on there. And then I got a call to go do American Idol when I was 16. And I'm in high school at the time. So I had already been singing my whole life. I've just always loved it. I grew up in church singing and I grew up on like classic country music too. So country's always been super important to me. And as I've gotten older, I've met so many people along the way. And the guy who auditioned with me, I met him when I was 11, and his name is Billy Dean. And he performed with me when I did my American Idol audition. And I don't know, I've just sang my whole life, and it's something I've always loved to do. And after American Idol, it really like set the pace and like what I was going to do afterwards, after figuring out like who I was as an artist and stuff.
Sure. So you met Billy on the show you were on at 11, or you met just at that same age?
No, so after I was on this show, I got a call from a friend of mine now. I mean, not he passed away, but his name's Kenny Rogers, and he introduced me to Billy. And I was in this production. I moved to Missouri for like 4 months, and I was in this Christmas production. It was like acting and singing, and it was something I've never done because I've always just been a singer. And yeah, that's how I met him. I was about 11 or 12 at the time, and ever since we worked together. And when I got the call from American Idol to go audition, I was just like, okay, Billy, like, I want you to come with me. Like, this is such a special moment. He's helped me so much in my career and really, like, taught me a lot of things that I know now and built other connections for me. So I just thought it would be wrong not to have him come with me to come play guitar for me and stuff.
Now, did he also compete, or he just accompanied you?
No, he just accompanied me. And it was so weird because in our audition, Luke Bryan and all of them knew who he was. So they were like, because he was a country singer from the 90s and he won like Grammys and awards. And so they already knew who he was. And I didn't know that. They didn't recognize him until after I had gotten my golden ticket and all that stuff. And it was so weird, but it was so funny because I didn't know. I was like, I didn't think he was like famous to me or anything because he was
Uh,
like my dad. So it was super cool that he was there and that I just thought it made the experience even more fun to have him with me and for him to, be friends with them too, like after the fact and to know him. So that was cool.
well, that says a lot about Billy that he wasn't like, well, hey, look at me, I've got these awards and
Right.
I'm
No.
working with you, an upcoming artist. He just kind of put himself out there for you, you know?
Right. Well, that's what he was telling them. He was like, because he's like my mentor pretty
Right.
much, was when I was younger. And I've kind of graduated from then, but he was guiding me through all this stuff. And so that's what he was saying. He really supports me. So he didn't need the spotlight at all. And it was really cool.
I know you talked about growing up on old country, which is always interesting to me because country is a genre where, I mean, I don't know, you look at pop and a lot of the artists who are in pop, rarely do they say that they like were influenced by the artists of the 90s. I mean, sometimes if you have like rock artists, obviously that's a genre where it also is inspired by a lot of people who were around in the 70s and 80s. But like with country, so much of it comes from people that were around several decades ago. And I'm curious because of that, would you say that your style as an artist for you is influenced a lot by the older country generation, or do you have more of a newer sound? Where would you say that you fit in with your sound?
For me, this has always been like such a big question for myself, especially when I was younger. Like I did grow up on classic country. I grew up on Loretta Lynn, Johnny Cash, George Jones, all those, Patsy Cline. They were like my icons growing up and what really influenced me to get into music and inspired me truly. Loretta Lynn is my all-time favorite country artist ever. I just love her. But I also really do love that new country sound. I'm a fan of all the newer music. There is some music to me that it's the country now is very poppy. And I don't see myself doing that too much. But I've also really been into like beats and like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like I like that kind of sound, but I grew up on classic. And so I really want that to show through my songs. And I had put out an EP right before I went on American Idol. And when I put that one out, I think it was more a popish sound. But as I've grown and gotten older and really figured out and learning how to songwrite, I've definitely figured out my way of doing it, which is way more like classic-y, not too much, but has a little bit of that in it along with the newer too, because my voice sounds country no matter what I sing. So it doesn't really affect it too much. But yeah, no, I'm trying to do more, just whatever feels comfortable. I love to do all sorts of things. I also grew up on like Metallica and Def Leppard too. So I'm a fan of pretty much every kind of genre of music. So I don't want to put myself in too small of a box, but I'm really trying to go towards that like Chris Stapleton vibe, Morgan Wallen vibe, that kind of stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Well, hey, I think with every year that passes, everybody's realizing like that we don't have to put ourselves in the boxes. And it's exciting to think about what that means for the country world, because I know it's very easy. It's funny because I know sometimes with country, it can be hard to listen to a song on the radio and there's so many artists that sound similar, but finding your unique sound and your unique voice is something that is always fun because it can be interesting to sort of pave your own lane in a genre that has a lot of similar sounding things.
Right. Well, it also like production has a lot to do with it. Like I'm releasing a single in June and I have 2 other ones I'm going to release after that, a few months after that. And I remember I sat down with my producer the other day and I was like, I like to write I like all types of different songs, like whether it's a pop song, because the lyrics don't make the song country,
Right.
Because all of our songs from different genres are saying the same things. It's just like how the song's written, the melody, the music, all that stuff. And I think that's what I'm going to put into these next songs. Like I'm going to add steel guitar and add stuff that I grew up on, the instruments that I've always loved, and really inquire them into my songs so that I can remember what it was like. Like the song I'm going to play for you today is a song that means so much to me. And on regular guitar, it might not sound as country, but when it's completely done in the studio, it will sound just like what I grew up on. So I'm really excited for that.
That's cool. It's like going back to your roots. I'm sure it feels nostalgic and inspiring.
Well, that's what the song is about too, is like me growing up and moving to Nashville and like just remembering back on what I was and stuff. So
yeah. And everybody has their own unique story, right? Because everybody makes that move, whether it's Nashville, LA, New York, or really any industry. I mean, you could have any job in the world and having to go from where you grew up to wherever you're going for your job. It's a big deal. I mean, it's like you're going to get something, but you're also giving up a lot too, I imagine.
Right. No, yeah, it was really hard. I grew up in the same little town in Florida my whole entire life. I was lucky enough with, the show and everything else I've been blessed to be able to do. I've traveled a bunch and that's great. And I've always wanted to, but Nashville has always felt like a second home to me. I've been visiting Nashville since I was like 8, and I knew like that was Music City for me. And like, I needed to go to follow my dreams. And I'm so glad I did, even though it was so hard at first. I didn't think I would care that much. And then when it was time to go, I was really sad. But now I have great friends. I have a good job. I get to do what I love every day, and it's just the best.
Take me back to, I'm guessing, would it be summer 2018, maybe fall? When do you get approached to do American Idol? Do they reach out to you? Do you try it yourself?
Right.
What's going on with that?
So they reached out to me. They basically just emailed. I think I was 16 at the time. So my parents, they reached out to my parents and like my business account and just asked me to come audition and do that. All I had to do was, so when they reach out to you, you just do like one executive audition. So if you audition, you have to do the stand in line and do that. And then you have to go through a bunch of producers. So I was able to just do like a private audition, is what they were calling it. So you go straight to the executive people, which was so nerve wracking for me because it's hard over camera because you can't really show as much of your personality. So I did that over camera, and I got through on that one to actually go to the first TV round with the judges.
Hmm. This might be a random stupid question, but like because this is pre-COVID, before we all really knew what Zoom was, were they using Zoom before the pandemic?
My gosh, I think it was Zoom. I honestly, it was so long ago. I think it was Zoom because my grandma has been using Zoom forever. So
Uh-huh.
when the whole pandemic happened, I had to call her and ask her how it all worked. But
Yeah.
I think it was Zoom. Yeah, that's what it
Okay.
was.
Yeah, I mean, as crazy as it is, I mean, obviously the technology existed. I feel like so many of us just didn't even know it was there, you know?
No, we can just FaceTime anybody. Like I
Yeah.
know.
Or Skype, but I mean, people
Skype.
forget
Oh
about
yeah,
Skype now.
Skype. It could.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Skype or Zoom. That is different. I didn't know. But yeah, no, we couldn't. But since they're all the way in California
Right.
and stuff, so we had to do the Zoom or Skype, whatever it was. I feel like it was Zoom. But yeah, no, that's what I did for that one.
I'm so used to talking to the contestants that were in the post-COVID world where most of it was virtual until they could fly you out there. But there are so many steps to the process, regardless of before you can get in front of the judges, a lot of hoops you have to jump through. Although it sounds like for you getting to that private audition, you may have, kind of gotten ahead a little bit as far as like you could have just been in the line and the Idol Across America tour. Instead, you got to go right to an executive, which is like, that's pretty legit because you're not in line with hundreds of people, you know?
Yeah, that would be so hard for me. So I totally respect anyone who does that because to me, I don't know, I wasn't really looking to. I've always loved American Idol and I've always watched it. Like Carrie Underwood, Kelly Clarkson, the greats that came out of it, Scotty McCreery. And it's so weird because I just watched some American Idol videos, but I never thought about auditioning because I had already done other TV stuff. And I was like, I don't know, like, I almost feel like I can't do it again. And then when they reached out, my parents were like, you have to do it. Like, you just have to. And I was like, you know what? I'll just take a chance and do it for fun and see what comes out of it. So it was a lot. It was super cool. I liked it.
Can I ask about the previous TV experiences, like the different shows that you might have been a part
Oh,
of
well,
before?
I was on America's Got Talent when I was 11.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know if you wanted me to say the name or
Yeah,
not.
it's funny. I was going to guess when you said another show. I was like, it was probably AGT. It wouldn't have been The Voice
Yeah,
because you were
I was
11. Yeah.
AGT. I was 11. And on that show, I made it to the live shows. I got to go sing at Radio City Music Hall in New York. And it was the most amazing time. But I lost to, that was in 2013. I don't even know. I don't even remember. I can barely remember American Idol, but I definitely can't remember
Oh my
that one.
gosh. Okay. You know what's crazy? Okay. So one of my like COVID shows was I caught up on old seasons of America's Got Talent. It was on YouTube. And I've seen every season but season 8. So now I have a
That
reason to
was the
go.
season I was on.
So now I have a reason to go watch season 8 and be like, oh my God, that's Chloe.
Yeah, no, I was on that one. And that was when, what was his name? I know who I lost to. I lost to a comedian, and it was so weird because
Taylor
before,
Williamson,
yeah,
right?
Taylor Williamson.
He's
And before
funny.
we went out, he was like, "Dang, I hope it doesn't come down to Chloe and I," and it did. And then I went, home.
So you were in the finals?
Yeah, well, not.
Wow.
I was in the semifinals.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
That's
know. So
cool.
that was the other show, but I didn't know if you wanted me to say the name because it's a.
Oh, yeah. We say names around here. I don't know.
Okay.
It's good to be real. It's podcast. I mean, that is interesting. You're against comedians, and I think the guy who won was like a contortionist or something. Kenichi.
I'm trying to remember his name. I don't want to pronounce it wrong because I can't remember. It was like Kani, uh,
Kenichi.
Kanichi. It was something like that. I can't really remember,
Yeah.
but he was amazing and so nice. Like it's so different, like being on American Idol because it's all singers.
Right.
between competing with people who were using puppets and dancing and being comedians and doing just random, having dogs on the show or being a drummer. Like it
Right.
was so many more talented things. I almost felt like it was more difficult if you were a singer because there were so many cool things for the judges to pick from. But no, that was a great experience. And I think that was what set me up. And then that's why American Idol reached out to me because I was like, my name had gone up a little bit from America's Got Talent. So really, I owe it to AGT for getting on American Idol.
Live TV, what was that like?
That was scary. So for me on AGT, I didn't get to go live on American Idol. I didn't make it
Right.
to the section, but on that was like my first time singing live in front of that many people and like millions on a camera.
Yeah.
And really the producers had set me up running around a lot, like moving across the stage. I had like my name in big letters on the stage behind me. And I was just so nervous and it was still a dream come true. But like, when I tell you I like blacked out, I don't even remember being on stage at all. It was just so long ago. So, but it was a lot of fun. And I love New York City.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. Radio City Music Hall, that's a big venue.
I
An even
know.
bigger city.
It was a dream of mine. And so that was cool that I got to check that one off the list like so early in my career and stuff.
Not only are you competing against so many other kinds of acts, but the judges, I mean, other Mel B was a judge, so she's an
Yeah.
artist, but it's like they're looking for all different things. They have different perspectives. And so you go to
Right.
Idol and it's like all, pop stars and country artists.
Well,
and it's so different.
Exactly. I think the one I was scared of the most was Howard Stern because that's who I had, but I won't spoil it, but he was not mean to me. They were all super nice. All the judges were nice. I remember running backstage and running into Mel B's like daughters. Like they were just a little younger than me at the time. Like it was just crazy. Yeah. So, but I loved the experience, but it was definitely different. Like instead of being in front of like iconic musicians like Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Luke Bryan just sitting right in front of me. So I don't know. I think when I'm younger, I was a little more risky back then than when you turn 16, you're in high school and you care more what people think. So I think I was more nervous for American Idol. Plus you're in a small room. And for me, I prefer to sing in front of 10,000 people than just one person in a room. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's easier. The acoustics sound good. You have a microphone. I feel way more comfortable on stage than I do just sitting and performing in front of 3 people. I was terrified of American Idol audition. That was terrifying for me.
Now, which city did you audition in? Well, actually, I could ask the same for AGT. Which city did you audition in for America's Got Talent?
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember? I know they used to go all over the country. Now they just do Hollywood.
So American Idol was Kentucky.
Okay.
And I know that was like the closest thing to me.
Right.
Because I think the stuff, I don't even know if they went to Florida, but if they did, they would have done it way south of where I am. So Kentucky's closer to me than any of South Florida. America's Got Talent. Let me think. I literally have no idea. I think I also got asked to be on America's Got Talent and did a private interview for that one too. So I really don't remember. I don't know. Where was I? I want to say maybe California. I don't know. The first audition was, in front of people. Like it wasn't. So wherever they have that set up, I really don't remember. I'll have to look it up and see. I'll just go on Safari and start or something.
Well, you did get to go to Vegas, right? They used to do those.
Yeah, so I went to Vegas the next round. So I think it was Hollywood, California. I want to say that, but don't mark my words on that. I want to say it was California the first round. And then after I did my private audition with the executive producers, and then I got to go to that one. And then the next one was Las Vegas, which I loved Las Vegas. And then the third one was New York. And that was like the best. That's what I meant when I said I've traveled. I got to travel all of that.
That's cool.
And it was the best. Like I got to definitely go more places with that than American Idol because I made it way further. So it was cool. But Kentucky for American Idol, because I remember standing in, even though you're on it and you're auditioning, they have it timed out during the day. Like you have your number. They do a lot of like B-roll and all that stuff. So you have like, I'm waiting in line, and it was freezing at the time because I really auditioned in December before the year. And so it was so cold. And I remember I'm like, every time I get cold or nervous, my throat dries up. And so I was outside in the cold and I'm like drinking so much coffee. I'm like hot coffee because I'm like freaking out because when I get cold, I sound so bad, I feel like. So that made me even more nervous, but I think the audition went pretty good. I don't think I did my very best, but I still made it through to Hollywood. So I got lucky, I feel like.
Another advantage of being on Idol, I mean, I don't know if you probably met some singers when you filmed AGT, but at Idol, you're getting to know so many people that do exactly what you do. And like you said earlier, you've stayed in touch with a lot of them and you might have collaborated or just met other people to be friends
Right.
with. So I'm sure that was really cool to just arrive in Louisville and see all these other people that are doing what you have always been doing.
Right. So one of my closest friends from the whole thing is Drake McCain. He was amazing. He was one of my best friends on there. I have like photos in my Snapchat memories from us being like crying when I got kicked off and everything. So I don't know. It was really sad like having to leave everybody, but we all stayed in touch. Lane Hardy, like they come to Nashville a lot. Drake lives across the street in Like he lives on the other side of the Tennessee River from me. So it's cool. We're all really good friends. Lacey K. Booth, I love her. There's just so many of them. And it's because we're all doing the same thing and we're really trying. And whether we got kicked off in the first round or if we won the whole thing, like we're still all doing the same thing, what we love to do, and trying to get our music out so that people can hear us. And, so we're all related in that kind of way. Like we always like, if you were on American Idol, like even if they weren't on my season, I already connect to them because they understand like what it was like and what you go through and that it can be hard and exhausting and really mentally exhausting too. And they're like the only ones who know that. So it's really cool. It's like a little family. Doesn't even matter what season you're on. So
Yeah.
it's really cool.
And man, the days of filming auditions, people who watch the show would never understand because it looks like you're just in and out, but you are there for hours and hours.
All
How do you,
day.
how do you feel about like the interviews and the B-roll? I mean, I'm sure obviously as an artist, your favorite thing is to just go out and sing, but how did you feel about having to go and do interviews? And do you enjoy talking in front of the camera and opening up and like doing all these shots of you looking off into the distance? Like, how did you feel about that?
So for me, it was pretty easy. And I don't know if it's because I did do AGT, but I've always been like, I'm a very extroverted person. I don't mind doing that kind of stuff. Like I kind of figured, so I already knew what went into making a reality like TV show or a singing competition show. So, it wasn't a big deal for me, but it was a lot. Like you had to be up really early. And for me, since I was under 18, I had to be in school. So when you're a minor, you have to go to school, which was even worse. Like the last thing on my mind was doing school while I'm auditioning for American Idol. Like that's after the fact you make it to Hollywood. But when you get into Hollywood, they have hours set up, which the teachers were amazing. And all my friends were like in the minor group. So it was not a big deal. But it was kind of sad because we couldn't get to hang out with everybody. We were kind of separated most of the day. But we had to be up early. We had to film random stuff. We had to redo stuff over and over again. And sometimes we would get in trouble for talking or laughing. So it was kind of like almost like I was in school like all day. I was just like an acting school or something. I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, so wait, the auditions, I mean, I don't know. I've heard a lot about the school at Hollywood Week, but the auditions, I guess it's pretty similar where, I mean, anybody's going to be waiting a long time to go in, but essentially instead of just waiting in the holding room, they send you off to a room that they're like using as a makeshift school classroom, I guess, and you're doing
Well,
stuff.
yeah. So I probably said that wrong, but we didn't have to do school till Hollywood because they needed
Oh,
to make
okay.
sure you needed to do it. So the audition, there was no school, but
Oh.
we sat in this room for hours and they would randomly pick you. They would randomly grab people to come film stuff with. And I filmed so much and it was so weird because it was just so much all the time. And there were so many other people, or they want to shoot you, like talking to your family. And like my family definitely doesn't like the camera at all. We're very different. Like I can sing on stage and my parents are like behind the curtain kind of people. So it was definitely cool, but they wanted to get us a lot of shots of Billy and I and just everybody, you talking to new people. But I mean, it was fun because you got to hang out with other musicians and talk to them and learn their stories. But no, yeah, it's definitely a lot of sitting around and waiting and going where they tell you to go. And we had to stand in this line in the cold outside, and it was not fun. And that was what I was saying. I was nervous because my throat, we stood outside in the cold forever, and it was like 30 something degrees. And I did not like it.
Oh man. Gosh. So when you finally got to go in and see the judges, I mean, do you remember what time of day it was? Were you somebody that had to wait like to the end of the day? Were you middle of the day, earlier?
I have no idea. I think it was definitely later. I wasn't one of the first ones. But I wasn't last either. Like some of these people waited till like the next day, or they have to extend them over, or they'll be there all night long. Like I got to leave. I don't even remember. I don't remember every detail, but I do think it was still daytime when I auditioned. And I remember like Ryan Seacrest and like coming to get me, and we walked through the thing. They kept doing a lot of shots with the judges. So I saw the judges before I even auditioned because they kept doing filming. Like the longest part of the day was filming like the very beginning, like the start of it, like, hey, we're in Louisville, look at all of our acts. So that was like the longest part of the day. And then after that, we kind of got to chill and then just film little stuff and then just waited on your name to be called. But they would let you know you had to go to a different building to audition. So that was when we waited in the cold, and then we would have to go, and they'd be like, okay, you're up next, and we'd be in a line, just so you get you in and out.
So you got a chance to talk to Ryan Seacrest quite a bit before?
Yeah, he was great. Like he was super nice. They were all out there. I don't really remember what it was all about. I was just saying hey because they were trying to film me like acting like I had a crush on Ryan Seacrest. So because I did at the time. And so I had told, I guess a producer overheard that. So they were like, let's use it. So I got to talk to him before I got to audition. But he also talks to you before you go into, like, he really do some like encouragement,
Right.
even when the cameras weren't rolling. He was very nice. So
Now I'm thinking about AGT again. Did you get a chance to talk a lot to Nick Cannon? Because you
no,
obviously made it
yeah,
farther.
he was great because I was also really young, and there was a lot of people who were really young, like kids. And he was so great with kids, and he was so nice to me and to my family. Once you watch it, you'll see like how he acts. He was just so nice. But I got to talk to him before a lot too, just because we did a lot of filming stuff for that too. So
Didn't they have? I remember because I remember like this is back especially when the show was like getting like 20 million viewers. Didn't they do the thing where they had the Orville Redenbacher's popcorn or something as a sponsor, and they would take you in the lounge and
yeah,
go, and they would do the recap of the last night and go, "That's what's poppin'," and they would make you
right.
like,
And
yeah.
also
Oh, Snapple.
Snapple. Oh my
Uh
God. We drank with Snapple. Like it was great too, but now I like can't because I drank it so much while we were there because they were like got like getting new sponsorships, I
huh.
guess.
Right.
So we had to like have it in our hand all day when they were video. So yeah, no, they had all that kind of stuff. It was fun.
Like you said, it's very different going into a room with just three people, not to mention three music industry legends. And so you walk in the
Mhm.
room. What is your first reaction to seeing their faces?
I'm just trying to be like really nice. Like I walked in and I was like, hello. I was trying to be calm. And I had Billy with me, so I definitely felt more calm with him in there. So I had two bodies, like
Right.
it was two of us instead of one. So when I walk in there, they were already nice, like saying hi, asking me my name, how old I was, where I was from, what I was going to sing. And I actually sang two songs. I sang an original I wrote with Billy, and then I sang the Stupid Boy song. And but they couldn't like put anything out on the other one because it wasn't like allowed yet, because I kind of rewrote an old classic country song. But those are the two songs I sang, and I was just really ready to just sing. I just wanted to sing so bad and just almost get it over with. Like I didn't want to, like I was so excited to see them and sing, but it made me so nervous, and we had been there all day, and I was just like, I want to sing, get this ticket, and go home and get into my bed and just like think about the day I'm having, because it was going by so fast, and it's almost like you can't even take it all in at all. So I was nervous for sure. And I'm not someone who always gets nervous, but like I said, I'm much more comfortable being on stage than I ever will be. But I don't know. I was nervous pretty much the entire time. So
Was there like much banter and them kind of being fun and playful and asking about you, or was it more of just like, let's cut to the singing?
Well, there was like we talked for a while. Like I told them about my life. I told them who I was, and like they kept asking me a lot of questions. But after about like 10 minutes, I think, which they don't show that kind of stuff for everybody, you know. So and then I got to singing after about like 10 minutes. And then I sang the first song and they were like, can you sing another song? And so I sang another song, which made me more nervous because they asked me to sing a second song. And I've watched Idol, so you know, I know what that can mean. And so I sang my second song and they told me that they loved it and that they wanted me to go to Hollywood and all that stuff. So it was exciting. Then afterwards, that's when they recognized Billy because he actually came out into like the light. Like he wasn't just sitting in the back, like looking down at his guitar. And so we all got to hang out there and talk for a little while. And the cameras were like all up in our face because they were all like freaking out over Billy. And I'm like sobbing, crying because I made it to Hollywood. So we're all just like so happy and hanging out. It was very casual. And I was like, oh, it's like I do this every weekend of my life.
Wow. Yeah, no, and it is actually, I do think that it's a little deceptive at home because it's not always a bad thing. You know, I mean, you know this because you were on the show, but doing more than one song, if anything, as you experienced, it's because they like you and they want to see what else you can do. But at home,
Right.
it's always like, do you have a second song? And it's like that Jeopardy, like, uh-oh, like they
Right.
don't
Exactly.
know if they like the person, but the reality is maybe they actually just want to hear more because they're entertained.
Well, also, you know, I feel like for me, they wanted to hear a second song because, you know, maybe the first song that you liked and that you sang didn't showcase what they know that you have potential to do. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I feel like that was the case for me. Plus, just being nervous. Like I said, I did not sound my best at all with being in the cold and being so nervous. Um, and just like expectations being high, you know, with all the talented people that were there that I had just met. And I was so much more scared after meeting these amazing people. So I think for me, they just were like, you know, we hear your voice in you, but we would love for you to sing another one to really grasp it. So yeah, that really changed in my mind. Now I know that that's not always a bad thing. They just want more, or they just love you, and so they want you more. So
Yeah, but even like you said, you know, sometimes it's that they still know that it's there. It just helps to get a little bit of that extra, like,
they
okay,
just
yeah,
want to hear
you know.
more, right? Like they want to be positive, you know, before they give anyone a golden ticket. And just because, you know, it's just like they're going to take you with you, take you with them and do all this stuff. So they want to make sure that you actually are good, I guess. But yeah, no, for me, they told me I was sounded great in my first song, but they wanted to hear another one. And I did get really nervous, but I just knew that I had to suck it up and just sing and do what I've always done. So that's what I did.
When you perform at a concert or in real life, it's like, you know, you're born to have to sing multiple songs, but when you're competing, singing any more than one song can
You're like,
feel,
oh
yeah,
no. I
it's about
know.
this one song only.
Right, I know. And you're like right on the spot too. So you're like, okay, wait, I gotta switch. And you're so nervous. So your brain has to switch. Like I have to go from thinking about this song that I've been practicing all day to go to my backup song. And it's crazy, but I actually love the song that I did as my backup song. And it should have been my first one I did. And I don't know, I loved it. It's one of my favorites. And I didn't do the greatest. Like I didn't now, like with my recording, my cover of it, it definitely felt more at home because I was in Nashville and I was in a recording studio. But looking back on it, I wouldn't have changed anything that I did because at least I got to sing two songs in front of these amazing, talented, super celebrity people, you know. And so I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool that I actually did get to sing two instead of just one.
Stupid Boy, that cover you did. I'm curious because we actually are going to play the song after this interview, and I'm wondering for you, like, what it is about it that really connects with you. Because obviously, to do that song all those years later and to still now be recording cover of it, it obviously means a lot to you still.
Well, for me, you know, the song isn't just about like my American Idol audition. Like that holds such a big place in my heart with that because, you know, I'll never take for granted this experience that I got to go through. But for me, even before then, I had loved the song. I'm a big Sarah Buxton fan, and she actually wrote it. Um, she's always been such an inspiration for me when I got into songwriting because I wasn't into songwriting forever. I would always write songs when I was little, but didn't really think it. But after I met Billy, I really, really got into it. So I heard her version first before I ever heard Keith Urban's version. And when I heard a girl singing it, it just made so much sense. So, and it hadn't really been sang that much. I haven't heard it really on an audition. And I was like, this song it just meant a lot to me. It's just a really like, really started, I feel like, my inspiration for songwriting, just because it's so well written. It's so beautiful. It's relatable to not just girls, but guys and to whomever. And I also am a big Keith Urban fan too. So I didn't mind that he had a version of it too. But I felt like it was an underrated song.
Yeah.
More people needed to hear. And so that's why I wanted to do it for my audition. And now it means even more to me because I have this experience attached to it too. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to record this song. I actually did this recording like a year ago, but didn't put it out because I didn't know if people wanted it. But I get asked almost every day, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, for me to do a cover of my audition song. All the time, because I used to sing it on my Facebook a lot and people know that I sang that song. So I'm finally going to put one out. I've decided, since it'll be like the anniversary coming up soon in December. So I'm excited because for other people, it wouldn't have been December, like when the show actually started to air. But for me, it was December.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to put it out in December. So it's exactly the day that I did it.
That makes sense. And, you know, I know Keith Urban was a judge a couple years before, so I guess you missed Keith Urban. But hey, you got Luke Bryan, so.
Yeah, I know. That was fun. I like Luke Bryan too. So it's okay.
Can you imagine the pressure? I don't know if, I mean, maybe you have friends that were on the show, but can you imagine the pressure of being on The Voice where the chairs are turned and you have to get them to turn around when you're singing?
You know, I actually, when I was on American Idol, during the audition, I got messaged from The Voice to try out.
Trying to poach you.
I know. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I've always loved The Voice. Like, I love all of these shows, which is crazy. And I was like, dang, I want to do it so bad. But I'm literally in Kentucky right now, like auditioning for American Idol. But then since like my face was on TV, I wasn't allowed to.
Right. We're going to have a problem with that.
Right.
So it's a contract.
But I say that because what you're saying, I can't even imagine. Like, I would be so terrified. But it's kind of sad because, you know, I always thought maybe I would do it one day if I felt like I wanted to for fun or if I needed to do it. But now Blake Shelton isn't there anymore. And that would be sad because that's exactly who I would have wanted. But I can't imagine the nerves they feel. I almost feel like I would do better, though, if they were turned around and I didn't see them. But if nobody turned around, I would be like, oh my gosh, it's so scary. Like, how do you know what they're going to do? You know, you can't see their faces. So you don't know if they like it or not. So
here's the thing. I'm sure they're gonna wait till probably after they give him the attention to announce who his replacement will be. It could be Keith Urban. I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
that would be full circle.
I'm thinking they're gonna get someone that's a good country singer. So hopefully, because I like when judges panels have different type of musicians. You know, like there was Kelly Clarkson before and Ariana Grande or people, whoever, Gwen Stefani is on it. But I definitely like how they have pop, like a rockish kind of vibe, country, but they all know what they're talking about. So you really can't go wrong with either of them. But, you know, for me, country is exactly what I want to do. So I would have obviously picked Blake Shelton if that was an option. But we'll see. I don't know what's in the future for me. I've been working hard. I'm going to work really hard this next year and just try to get some music out and see what happens. So we'll see.
No, I mean, if anything, it's like, I know people kind of sometimes crap on the fact that there's so many of these shows, but it is important because it's a resource for artists, and the fact that they keep going and there's so many of them is a good thing because it means that they're kind of available to you guys when the timing is right, you know?
Right. And I mean, you know, people can say what they want, but the shows wouldn't be running if millions of people weren't watching them. Like, I loved, even before I did any of this stuff, I would sit down with my parents and we would watch The Voice almost every time it was on, because it's just so entertaining to see other amazing people who are musicians too, to see people turn for them, to get to know them, where they're from, their personality, like, because you also get to vote for people too. So it's like you're playing in this game too, that, you know, that you're actually there with them, which I think is so much fun and cool, which I didn't get to the people voting ones, but I wish I would have, maybe one day. But no, I loved it. It was but yeah, no, I would do it all over again. Like, I don't regret going on. I don't regret anything that I did with Idol at all.
I wouldn't be surprised if The Voice got Keith Urban, because I read an article. He did The Voice Australia for several seasons. He did American Idol for 4 seasons. He was on competition shows as a kid, so he would be very qualified, and you could go on there and sing Stupid Boy to him.
I know that would be super cool. I haven't read anything about it yet. I just saw Blake Shelton's post on
Right, right.
Instagram, and then I saw the voice comment, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but that would be really cool. I would hope it would be him because he's so talented, and I would definitely go on then and sing Superboy. But I would be way more nervous to sing in front of the person who sings it. But I think it sounds good coming from a girl's perspective too.
Yeah.
It's like a whole different song. I feel like when it's between a guy and a girl, like he's saying you're a stupid boy talking to a boy about a girl, and I'm singing to the stupid boy.
Right.
And I think it makes it so much different. So,
and it was written by a girl, right? So you're reminding people
right.
this was written from a girl's perspective.
And I haven't heard a girl do it, so I was like, I'll just do it.
Yeah. Anyway, in our edition of American Idol /ADT /The Voice, back to American Idol, you go to Hollywood Week. How are you feeling about, singing with, again, probably 3 times the amount of people, and the stakes are raised, and what's going through your mind?
So when we got there, it was definitely can be overwhelming. There was a bunch of people. The first thing we did is you go into this big conference room and you get like the roles and stuff and what you have to do and what you need to be doing in the call times. So for minors, we didn't have to be as early as the people who were 18 and older, because we had to go to school. So I remember the first day I had to go to school, and that's where I met a lot of my friends. And then we were always hanging out, eating food. Like we were singing the whole time. It was great, but it was definitely hard. Like you would hear like everyone's singing everywhere. And you're like, wow, I can't even compete with these people. They are so talented. And not only that, but they're so nice too. So, it was definitely scary for me. Plus the production was a lot more. Like we were doing so much more. They were videoing us running and everything. Like when we got to group rounds, they were videoing us running in herds of people, like to go pick your partners and to grab a song really fast because they have like a small list that you can sing to.
Right.
So, it was definitely a little overwhelming sometimes, but at the same time, I was lucky that I've already been sort of kind of through stuff like that. So I was prepared. I already knew it was going to be like that. But really making friends is the only way I felt for me that I got through it.
Can you tell me about some of the friends that you made during Hollywood Week?
So that was when I met Drake, and I met Lacey and Lane Hardy, and I made a lot of friends. Ethan Payne was on that year, and I met him, and we all hung out. Carson Denfip, he's one who didn't get showed on TV, and he was in Hollywood. There were so many of us, and we were all not Lane Hardy or Lacey, but all those other people I said, we were all in school together. So we really were around each other all day long. And we would go to school, and then we would get in trouble for not doing our schoolwork. And then we would finally leave, and we get to go eat, and then we get to go practice. Then we have to go shoot film. And then we'd have to go sit in on the auditions of the first lines of 10. Right away when we got there, we got to work right off the bat. But you had to do school for at least 3 hours or 4 hours a day. I can't remember. But my school knew that I wasn't going to do anything. So I had already made plans with them. They already knew how it was. My whole town was so supportive of me, and they knew that I just was not doing it. So I didn't. I just did everything when I got back. It was no big deal. I was a sophomore in high school, so it wasn't that important.
Yeah. Imagine this would be the most boring interview if we had to talk. If I asked you about so tell me all the stuff that you worked on in the classroom at Idol. It's
well, we would be just listening to music, but if we were talking, that was the only problem. Distracting. Yeah. Not one person in there was doing it, but they really do want you to do it. Sometimes, we would other people actually had a lot of work they had to do, so it was great. And, it's kind of nice because we get a few hours of just downtime where we cannot be distracted. We have to do it. So I would just stick in earphones and listen to songs that I needed to practice, or just be quiet to save my voice, anything I could do. Because you will lose your voice in Hollywood Week because you're running around, you're yelling, and for the film, for the camera crew, you're talking to so many people, you're singing every day. And for me, that was hard for me to just shut up and just not do anything. So during school, I would talk to my friends. Drake is my best friend from Idol. He is unbelievably talented and one of the nicest people I know. And me and him would just sit by each other every day in school and just whisper because weren't allowed to talk. Which whispering is even worse for your vocal cords, so don't do that. But that was what we did because we couldn't talk to each other.
Well, Drake did air. He came back, I think, on season 19 and almost made top 24. I remember
Right.
being devastated when he didn't make it. When you see him, please tell him I was devastated when he didn't make
I
top
would
24 because I was a big fan of his.
No, he's so great. But it's almost like it does not even matter. Like for him, especially like him not winning or getting to the top 24, top 20,
Yeah.
top three, it didn't matter because he's already so talented and he's going to go so far. And I think him even getting to that point, like it was just enough exposure for him.
Oh yeah.
People need to understand when we were talking about it earlier, like people are like, why are these shows like they do these? But like exposure is like next level when you do stuff like this. Because if people see you on TV, if they see you, then your socials go up, your music gets bought, like it's a whole thing. So I know he's going to release some music soon too. And it's all amazing. I've heard it and it's going to be so good. I'm so excited for everyone to hear him because he really is great. And he was definitely a good friend of mine that I'll keep forever. I'm just blessed I got to meet him on Idol. He was one of the best things that came from it.
It's so great to hear artists supporting artists, especially on a competition show, because as most of my guests tell me, it's not really a competition. It's a very friendly and like just awesome experience to really just meet other people that are just doing the same thing that you
Right. With
love.
somebody would get kicked off and we would all be crying. Like
Yeah.
even though we're there to like for them to leave so that we can stay.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got kicked off, like I said this earlier, I had pictures with all my friends of us just sobbing, crying because it wasn't even that I was obviously sad that I was getting kicked off, but I had to leave all of my friends and go back to Florida, which I missed my family and friends from there, but I didn't want to ever leave. I felt like I could have stayed there forever and did the same thing every single day. And so, yeah, no, it really is. It's really not as competitive as people think it is. Or when they try to show it as if their people are competing or being mean, it's like not like that at all.
Well, how did the performance go? What did you sing? What
It
was
was
the
great.
result?
It was I sang, I played guitar. And it was my first time. That was like really me starting to get into guitar. So I was so nervous about that. I played Before He Cheats. I sang Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood just because it's a great song. And I've always sang it and I knew I would feel comfortable doing it. So I sang that one. And I did really good on that one. I felt really confident in myself. I was nervous because you have all the other auditioning, like all the other people there on this side, and then you have the judges. So you have not only the judges are watching you now, but also all these other talented people who are competing against you and want you to not. I mean, they don't want you to not sound good, but you know what I mean? Like you
They're
want to
looking
win.
out to see what's going on.
The people you don't know yet, like my friends, it felt good having them, but there's so many people that you don't even get to know at all. Like you don't meet them because you're always so busy and you kind of get your group and you stick with those people. So it was even more nerve wracking, but I kind of just was like, whatever. I know this song like the back of my hand. I've done it forever. It's a super popular song. I'm just going to do it. And so when line of 10 happened, I remember like Brian was like, Chloe, step forward. And I was so nervous. And then like 3 other people did. And they were like, you guys are going through to the next round. And I was like, oh my God. It was so heart wrenching because I was so afraid that I was going to get cut then. So just to get to that next step, you're like, okay, this is legit. Like I made it past this part now, like just 2 more rounds until I get to go and start doing live stuff and like, or go to that. They went to Hawaii, I think, which would have been so cool, but that's fine.
So before we talk about group round, which I'm very curious about because for the most part we're hearing about they switched to duets, so I don't get many people who talk about the group round. However, do you remember any standout performances if you were sitting in the audience, like other people in the line of 10 round who really killed it?
We didn't get to watch that many. I just was hearing people in my line pretty and it was so long ago and I was so nervous. So I don't really remember it all too well. I know that there were so many talented people, but it was like all people that I hadn't met. But for the line of 10, either I don't remember and I was there, but I'm pretty sure I didn't get to really hear anything. And if I did, I was backstage and it was nobody that I knew, but they all sounded amazing. So that's
Yeah.
what made it even worse because I was nervous. I didn't know them. They sounded amazing. I don't know how their auditions went before. Like all my friends, I knew what the judges said to them, so I kind of had advice going. Like we kept giving each other advice, so I don't know. None really stood out just because I didn't really hear anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like asking, okay, so this is your whole grade. You have your class, and you people know the people in your class, but you can't know all the people in your grade. Unless you're
Right,
me and you
right.
went to a small school. Maybe you went to a small
And I'm
school. I
gonna
don't know.
feel horrible if one of my friends was in my line, but I'm almost positive none of them were because I don't remember at all.
Well, just to make you feel better, basically every other person's like, I feel so bad they're gonna hate me. So everybody says that, so everybody
Yeah.
understands
Well,
what
because
it's
line
like,
of 10 is kind of like a fever dream. Like you're like, because you're going, going, going. Like they do one line of 10, then you do another line. You don't even find out if you've made it or not. You
Right? They
sing
film that
all
separately.
you randomly, you're all singing one by one, and then they pick whose group you're going to be in. And so it's like they pick it from who's going and who isn't. So they'll just throw you with whoever because they have to pick like a certain amount of people who go through. So it's like a whole, mostly like producers doing that
Oh,
kind
so
of
they
stuff.
pick the groups as opposed to you picking your own partners for the group round?
No, I meant for like the line of tens, like
Oh,
our
okay.
line, was just picked randomly. Like not, it was random to us, but to them, I think it like after we got done singing, because we didn't find out forever until afterwards. Like they had to go through like 10 lines of 10 before we got to find out if we made it or not. So I was so extremely overwhelming.
Maybe the most agonizing way of the whole time, because I mean, the more people there are, the more you gotta wait to find out what's happening to you.
Right. Yeah, it was very stressful. It was kind of like that for group rounds too. I mean, they do talk to you afterwards. So I already knew what was going to happen to me after we got to, like, I knew right off the bat when I started getting interviewed and I was like, I know what y'all are up to. I already know, like nobody would say anything, but I already knew. And so I kind of went in knowing already what was going to happen just because the producers kind of ask you questions that kind of make you figure out what's going to happen. So it wasn't like I was upset because I already knew. Like I was upset because I was leaving my friends, but the line of 10, I had no idea because nobody was saying anything. We got sent back to school to do 2 more hours of school. So,
Well, so from whatever you remember about the group round, whether it's like anything you remember from rehearsing or anybody that you worked with and how the performance went, I would love to hear about what you remember.
so in my group, which I forgot to say her name earlier, she's a good friend of mine too. She was a great friend of mine when I was on the show. Madison, she was in my group. She won third place that year.
Oh, Madison Vanderberg, right?
Vandenberg. Yeah, she was in my group, which was already a horrible idea because she is amazing at singing. But I didn't know, like, I didn't really get to hear her that much too. She was young too, so she was hanging out with all of us. So I was in a group with her and this other girl named Vanessa, and I don't think her audition showed. I didn't really know her that well. It was hard because my like friends were trying to find groups that matched them. And there was a country group, but I knew I wanted to sing with Madison because I just thought she had a great voice. I figured we would match each other well. And then Vanessa, I don't remember how that all got away. We had another girl in our group, and it's funny. Her name's Abby. She lives in Nashville now, and I've seen her around. She was in our group too, but she left our group to go join a different group because she didn't like the song, which is something to this day I get upset with myself because I didn't like the song either. But I have this problem where I get scared to say no to people. So I kind of just went with it because it really didn't matter to me what song we sang. I just knew I needed to sound good. But it was a pop song, and it was a Latino song too. Latino
Oh,
song.
okay.
The Vanessa girl was Latina, and she wanted to sing it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Even though I sang country my whole life, like I didn't know. And the country group was already made. Like that was when they filmed us running, and we had to go find our groups really fast, pick a song. That was the most stressful time of my entire life. So you kind of didn't have a choice. You had to find your group, you do it. But I don't regret my group. Those girls were great. They were so nice, amazing. It was just definitely not the type of song that I would sing regularly. But I was also there to challenge myself too. So I didn't mind doing something different, but it definitely did not fit me the way it would have if I would have been singing a country song or even a different kind of pop song, not very much like a Latina song was hard for me.
They show it looking very stressful on TV when they show like the rehearsing, and I'm sure obviously it's like over dramatized, but I'm guessing it was a difficult thing to pull that together very quickly because it's a short amount of time you have to get the performance
Right.
together.
They definitely dramatized whatever, but no, it really was not that long. We got our songs, our groups, and we had to learn them and sing them the next day. So, um, and I feel like some people were doing them. I think they were finishing lines of tens and then they wanted to wait till the next day. And it was hard because we're trying to figure out, like you set these plans and, like it's not about like outshining the other person. We each want to show off how we sound and what we do. So it can be stressful too when people go on stage and change things. And you kind of just have to like roll with that, which isn't a big deal. But, you get nervous when you're on stage. So you might do something differently. But it was definitely hard. You had to find your group, find a song, and practice all night. And for me, I like to sleep because I don't sound good if I don't get sleep. My voice will be gone. But it wasn't my voice was not a problem that day. I felt good. I was just nervous because I was the only one who had to learn the song. They already knew the song because it was a popular song. It was Havana.
Oh yeah.
Havana, ooh, na, na.
Una na.
And I can't ever listen to that song again. I'm not even kidding.
Oh.
Because that song stresses me out so much now because I put it with that time of my life. And so I had to learn that song and like figure out where I sat into that. And we each kind of just took a verse and a chorus and just did it that way because it couldn't be too long. But they were both so great. The Vanessa girl never got shown on TV, but they too got put through and I didn't. So, but it was fine. I was lucky that I made so many friends, but no, it was a very, very stressful day. I was so happy when it was over. Like I was sad. I was so sad when I got kicked off, but after the group rounds, like right after the group rounds, we sang, left for a second, someone else sang, and we got asked to come right back out to tell us. So it wasn't like a waited around, but when the other people were singing, I was getting interviewed. Like, how do you think you did? And I'm like, what would you do if you got cut from this round? I'm like, why are you asking me that? Like, I already knew. So I was it almost felt like a relief because I was like, oh, it's over.
They're
Like, I'm not
preparing
stressed.
you.
I don't have to be nervous. Like, I don't have to sing because I love to sing, but it was just such a stressful moment for me. But I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I mean, I think the timing was perfect. Like if that's when I was meant to be cut, then I think
Right.
the show knows what they're doing and who they think would be best to move forward. And I can't take credit from any of the other musicians. They were all talented and deserved. There were so many people who deserved to go and win the whole thing. Like it's hard to put artists against each other in a competition because everyone is so different in their own talents. So I can't imagine what it's like for the judges to have to pick between like people all the time. That's hard.
Yeah. Was there any specific feedback that they gave you after the performance?
Not really. They just thought for me, they said that I didn't show off my range as much. I can't really remember. So it wasn't very memorable advice. It wasn't
Uh-huh.
anything like, this is what you need to do. They just said that I don't think I sing as loudly or my range allowed me to. But it was because it was a pretty bland song, in my opinion, for range wise. Like the song itself
Right.
is great, but range wise, it kind of stays monotone like the whole way to me. But the other girls were doing things that I guess I don't know. I really truly didn't know why I got cut, but I just knew if I did get cut, that was okay and it was the right thing for me that happened. And then when Madison, I rooted for her the whole way after that because I knew she was going to get far. I don't know what happened with Vanessa. I don't really talk to her. I wasn't really friends with her when we did the thing. She was super nice, and obviously we got to know each other with the thing, but actually being in a group together. But they never showed her on TV, and she got through, but I don't think they actually like. They would tell people they got through, and then they wouldn't sing or they wouldn't be taken to Hawaii. You know what I mean? So I don't remember. As soon as you get done, you get your stuff and you have to leave if you get kicked off.
Was there, so that season, if you made it to the group round, you went right to Hawaii? Or was there another round in
No,
Hollywood?
there was another round,
Right, that's
but
what I thought. Yeah.
even then, like they would be like, Well, like there were some people who said like they would get it and then they wouldn't end up singing
Maybe
because
they
they
have to
might
cut the numbers
overdo it.
down.
They might overcount how many
Right.
people they let through. But I don't know if that happened to her or not. But I definitely do know for a fact that some people got through all 3 rounds in Hollywood and didn't go to Hawaii and get to keep going, even though they got through.
That
I can't
sucks.
remember who it is, but I know for a fact that happened. I remember hearing that from one
Hmm.
of my friends, but I can't remember who it was.
Wow.
Yeah, which would
Huh.
be such a bummer because you actually made
Yeah.
it through, and then now everyone's good, but they over accounted for way too many people, you know. So,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
things happen. So,
No, they do. And I mean, I must be, I imagine that looking back, like you said, having not really talked about Idol much in a little while, I'm sure it's surreal to think like, wow, this really was almost 4 years ago.
I know it's crazy to me. Like I don't think about it on a regular daily basis, but it always makes me so happy when someone approaches me or asks me because like I have a picture of like me and my golden ticket still on Instagram, and I'll go back and look at that, and I'm like, wow, like if I could just tell like 16-year-old me where we're gonna be and to not let this, like defeat you or make you feel as less of an artist because you didn't, then I would have. Because I felt relief, but I felt scared and I was sad about leaving. I felt so many emotions when I left, but I knew that music was for me and that I would never ever give up. But I can say that I was very heartbroken and I was almost embarrassed, which sounds so dumb now. But when I was 16, I was like scared to go home. And the hard part too is that all of this is pre-recorded, so you can't say anything to anyone. Like you sign forms, like you're not allowed to say anything. So I'm keeping this huge secret, and everyone's asking me all the time. And I have to be like, guess you have to watch and find out. But I already know that I got kicked off. And that was like the hardest part.
And then you're promoting the show probably on
You're
socials.
still
Watch
promoting
American
it,
Idol.
even though you got kicked off.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to do that because you're sad and, you just like want to be there and be with your friends. And you want to tell the people that are going to watch it that you did good. And you can't say anything. But I just knew it was right for me. Coming home, I just really got right back in. I went back to high school. I did so many shows. I was so thankful I got to do so much stuff. And now I get to live in Nashville and follow my dreams. So it all worked out.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm curious from high school to now and sort of in the last 4 years, if you want to walk me through kind of like from then till now, how we got from graduating high school and ending up in Nashville, sort of all the steps that you've taken.
Right. So I graduated high school in 2020, so the COVID year.
Mm,
So I was 18 and I didn't actually get to have my graduation until June. And as soon as that happened, I finished out high school, which was so weird because my friends were like, you're on American Idol and like all this stuff. It was so crazy to me. But then those next 2 years were pretty normal. I got to do a lot of stuff for American Idol. I did a bunch of interview stuff. I sang a lot of places, but that was normal for me because I was doing that before with America's Got Talent. I finished out high school. I was so ready to graduate. I had already known I was moving to Nashville since I was 8. So it wasn't a big surprise to anybody. And so as soon as I turned 18, I had to wait till I graduated high school because I wanted to just be done with that. I graduated in June and I moved up in August to Nashville. And ever since I've moved, at first when I got here, I felt so lost. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I knew that I loved music and so many other people did too, and that it was going to be hard. But now I'm here and I'm doing it and I love it. I've made friends that's like family now. I get to sing every day. And really what I've dove into since living in Nashville that I didn't focus on as much when I was in high school was songwriting. That's all I do. I'm trying to write as much as I can because people, they hear a song and they're like, wow, that person's so good at singing. But like, you're like, well, who wrote that song? Because
right.
that's what you're truly relating to. You're not relating to how good a person the singer is. And that's what got me because, I've always just been a singer my whole life. But now I really am heavily into writing and it's one of my favorite things to do. So now that's all I do and it's the best. And I've definitely changed, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm still really young. My birthday's coming up. I turn 21 in like 35 days. And next year I have so many plans and I'm so extremely excited to actually get some music out that truly mean a lot to me. So
So writing for yourself and then also writing for other artists or just
where
yourself?
whoever, yeah,
Whoever?
like
Yeah.
I just write if I write a song that doesn't, there's some songs that I've written that I would never give to anyone else because they mean so much to me. But
Hmm.
there's some stuff that I've written and I've wrote with other people for other artists, not just myself. No big names yet, but hopefully one day.
Cool. Well, we're gonna hear one of those original songs right now. I'm really excited about this. And
Thank you.
tell me what song this is. Tell me what it's about before we hear it.
So I can only do like the first verse and chorus if
It's
that's
not
okay.
released yet, right?
It's not released yet. It's unreleased, so I don't want to give too much away.
Gotcha. It's a sneak peek.
But this song is going to be out in June of next year.
Okay.
I'm recording them in March. I wrote this song when I was 18 and I was in the U-Haul on my way up to Nashville, and it's like a 7-hour drive where I'm from. And I wrote it in like 30 minutes because it just came out of me. And it's called Dear Future Me, because I was very nervous, like with American Idol, with America's Got Talent, with growing up in the town I did and going to a big city that I've never been before. I was so scared of what my life was going to be like. And I didn't know if music was going to work for me, all this stuff. So that's what it's about. If my parents would be proud, it's just about life for me personally.
Awesome.
So,
I cannot wait to hear it.
it. Dear future me, how are you? Not much to say, but I just want to know who I'm gonna be. Do I make mama proud? Do I become the one who wants me to be? Does he still love me? Dear future me, is it everything I thought it would be? When I look in the mirror, what do I see? Do we ever replace what it took from me to still doubt myself? Do I ever learn my worth? Oh, please tell me, do I ever learn? Dear future me, that's all I'm gonna sing right now, but yeah, that's what it's about.
I love it. And I love the vibe because I feel like I can picture being in the U-Haul on the way to Nashville, and it's almost like it's a soundtrack to what you're like being on the road and starting a new chapter. Like it has the right perfect vibe, you know?
I had literally that day I had just learned that little riff. Like I was just coming up with stuff and I was just learning how to finger pick at the time. So I was like, I'm gonna write a finger picking song. And it wasn't even like I was writing a song at the time. Like I didn't know it was gonna be anything to me. And it's 2 years old. I've lived in Nashville for like 2 years and 4 months now. So this song, I wrote it when I was 18 and now I'm 21. So it's kind of like, it's a big gap, but I waited for so long because I wanted to really make sure it was what I wanted. And the rest of the song, I love. The second verse is my favorite verse. Really just I was kind of almost just like writing in like a letter to myself. That's how I thought of it. If my parents would be proud, if I would still love the same people that I loved, like you're leaving behind friends, ex-boyfriends, your whole life that you built. And now that I'm actually here doing it and I finally feel stable and not crazy, I figured it was time to put this song out. So I'm really excited. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, guys, stay tuned for that song, June 2023. I'm kind of wondering, you write Dear Future Me, that's June 2020, right?
Yeah, that was when I wrote it in August in 2020.
Or August, right?
Yeah. So I was like in the U-Haul on the way up in August. And,
Yeah.
I almost wanted to wait till August, but I wasn't sure. So it's going to be in between June or August. I don't know for sure yet. I just say
Okay.
June for now because I
Right.
definitely want to release it in the summertime.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna ask you, like, and who knows, maybe this is even something that you can think about yourself later. But I was just curious. We're always growing, we're always evolving as people. But like, even from then till now, like, is there anything that you would tell yourself in the present? Because the future as it was back then and like where you are now versus then, I'm curious what you would say about how far you've come and your progress and stuff.
I would definitely tell my younger self, my 18-year-old self, when I was moving to Nashville, to just not overthink everything. Because for me, when I moved here, I overthought everything I did, every song I wrote, every note I hit. And I was so worried I needed to be perfect, 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 until I realized that this is such an imperfect town of songwriters who write, and musicians who write, and they fail just to come back and do better the next time. So I've had a lot of failures in my life, but I don't consider American Idol a failure at all. I feel like it really got me to where I am today. But that was what I would tell my 18-year-old self, because she was a perfectionist. So I had to change a lot of things. If you want to be in the music business, you cannot have everything go your way all the time and stress about the little things. And that's what I used to do. So, yeah.
Man, a lot of people probably saying, change this, change that. It's like,
Right.
what are you going to do if you're a perfectionist?
People
and
give you all their opinions too. And I overthink how other people view me. Mm-hmm. And I've also learned that I can't be the people pleaser all the time when it comes to my music, because I'm doing it for people to hear, but I connect with my music. Like, it's everything to me. So obviously, if I like it, I'm going to put it out. If I like it, that's all that matters to me. You know, if someone else were telling me like they hated it or they're just being haters or whatever, I've learned that does not matter anymore.
One of my other guests, he was like, you know what? If you don't like my music, that's fine. There are plenty of other artists you can go and should support, because we're all out here just trying to get our music out there, and we're doing it our way. So if you like what I'm doing, cool. If you don't, go support another artist. Before I put
anything out, I get people I respect's opinions of all my stuff. And I trust them and their musicians. So, yeah. That he's got a great point. If you want to hear something else, you can go listen to something else.
It's more productive rather than to be a troll to go and support another musician who you like.
I don't know how people have the time of day. Like, who is truly like that? I've never met someone like that in person. I don't know how that's a thing. Like, I see it terribly on TikTok. It's the worst.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother podcast about the impact of social media and what's going to become of the future of Twitter and TikTok and all that. I mean,
I know, it's too much.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for your time, Chloe. Before you go, I want to give you the chance to plug your socials, talk about anything else that you want to promote, whether it's music, shows, anything.
So my Instagram is just Chloe Channell _ Channell Channell. But if people just type my name into Safari, all of my socials will pop up. My audition stuff, American Idol stuff, America's Got Talent, everything. So that's almost the easiest way to do it. But like I said, I'm releasing, that's one of my first songs I'm releasing, but that is not the only one. Some of my favorite songs I've written, I picked out top 3 that I loved. And I'm going to be releasing them next year. And I'm extremely excited, probably 1 month apart or 2 months apart. So there's that coming up. If people are in Nashville, you can come hear me sing. I sing downtown. Right now it's slow season, so it's on Mondays and Tuesdays, but in the summer I'm singing 4 days a week. But really this next few years, I'm going to focus on songwriting mostly. I'm actually getting my real estate license. I'm in school right now to do that too, just to, be able to afford to record songs and stuff. So, I'm trying to work really hard to make sure that I can keep on doing this forever. So those are my only plans. People can look me up, follow me, whatever they want. Music is coming, so I'm excited.
Cool. Well, we're going to play you guys out with Stupid Boy, the cover by Chloe, in just a second. But really quick, guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure that you subscribe or follow wherever you're listening or watching. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever. Thank you guys so much. You can follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Idol Unaired Podcast. And Chloe, thank you so much for being a part of American Idol Unaired.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, she was precious like a flower, and she grew wild but innocent. A perfect prayer in a desperate hour. She was everything beautiful and different. Stupid boy, you can't fix that in. Stupid boy, it's like holding back the wind. She laid her heart and soul right in your hands, and you stole her every dream and you crushed her plans. She never even knew she had a choice. you would take